I share that dream that we judge people on what they stand for and who they are, not what color they are, where they came from. And also have a dream that we not abort another 53 million, 54 million babies since Roe v. Wade, and that we not kill 52% of black people. And especially because that is a genocide going on. For every black person that is aborted, you've only got half as many white or Hispanic. Blacks are being targeted, and Dr. Alveda C. King joins us. She's got a new book coming out, King's Rules. She's going to come back on with us for a longer interview in late June to get into her book that I look forward to reading. But in the 10 minutes we've got, thank you so much for coming on with us, Doctor. I'm
so grateful to join you and your listening audience. It's just a blessing.
Well, you've got 10 minutes. Let's get into the black genocide that's going on with abortion and, where Dr. King would have stood on that and where all this is going and how we hopefully awaken America.
Well, we know here in the 21st century, it's been on for a long time, but it was more of a secret in the 20th century and the 19th century. During the time of slavery, when slavery was abolished in America, there became a big question of what to do with the former slaves, because we as a people had been oppressed, not allowed to read, not to be well educated, and we were free labor for America. And so the abolitionists, after President Lincoln signed the Emancipation, the abolitionists would say that these are human beings and they should be treated fairly. And so there's been that ongoing struggle. You know the history of Jim Crow laws. You know the history of my uncle, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the 20th century civil rights movement. Well, the eugenics movement, led by people like Margaret Sanger, who founded Planned Parenthood. She was an affiliate of Adolf Hitler, who created that horrible movement against the Jews, that Holocaust. So they were some patriarchs working together, and their plan was to reduce the Negro population, which is now the African-American population. And one of the plans included sterilization and what was called birth control, which today is shots and pills and things like Depo-Provera, the HHS mandate in America, saying that you have to give free birth control to the needy. And, of course, with the African-Americans being at the top of that list, to eliminate the birth of African-Americans. And when African-Americans do conceive, Planned Parenthood is, as the leader, the largest abortion provider, is saying help them to abort those babies. So that's the short version of what eugenics and genocide has come to be in America. I work for Priests for Life as Director of African-American Outreach, and it is my mission to educate Americans and really people around the globe that eugenics and genocide still exist in America in the 21st century.
Well, Obamacare funds abortion and tries to force churches to pay for it. And Obama's been a great poster child for increasing basically forced abortions in Africa, where they won't let people onto their own land and thing unless they have abortions. In China, they have forced abortions inside the Foxconn factories. But as long as they dress it up as liberal, it's okay. As long as they say it's the Democratic Party, it's okay. Again, I don't romanticize the Republican Party, but the truth is they were the ones that created the NRA to arm newly freed black slaves to protect themselves from the Klan. It was the Republicans that helped get the Civil Rights Act passed. I don't get how the Democrats have flipped history on its head and call anybody who's against black genocide racist.
Well, that is really the quandary that we're having, calling evil good and calling good evil. And that is happening. And as you say, I don't really promote party politics. I say that you should have people in both parties insisting that all the leaders do the right thing. I am a conservative, and I'm happy to be one. But I believe that liberals should also be enlightened and know the truth. When you say that it is okay to kill a little person in the womb, it used to be you said you didn't know that was a human being, but those are 3D ultrasounds and science have just trumped that and proven that those are babies, are human beings. I bought that lie when I was a young woman, and I ended up having 2 abortions and a miscarriage due to the harm to my body from the abortions and the harmful fertility blockers that they call birth control. And so today I know that abortion kills babies and women. We've got Lakeisha Reeves, Lakeisha Wilson, Tanya Reeves, many African-American women who've been killed by abortion, Jennifer Morabelli, a Caucasian lady. There's a long list, a growing list of women who've been killed by abortion, slaughtered in abortion mills, and millions of babies have been killed. About one-third of those babies, even though African Americans make up about 13% of the population, but we are tricked into having about one-third of those abortions. And then the politicians want to say this is women's rights and reproductive rights, and there's a war on women that is trying to keep women from exercising our reproductive rights. No, there is a war on women. And we see that war on women even most recently with the 300 little girls in Nigeria who were kidnapped, Christian girls and things like that. The war on women, or as you mentioned, in China, forcing the women to have abortions after one child. But we see that here on the war of our women, on the wombs of our women, with these women being slaughtered in the abortion mills. And Obamacare insisted that we give to women free birth control or access to birth control through our insurance policies. That birth control that is linked to breast cancer, cervical cancer, depression, high blood pressure, stroke, all of the chemical procedures that are either surgical or oral or shot, that birth control that you're insisting is not health care, it's death care. To give women these products that make the woman's body feel as though it is sick so it cannot conceive, and it's going to be linked to blood pressure, stroke, diabetes, heart attack.
And they're not telling anybody about this. Did you see the woman who's an actress, who's an abortion counselor selling women on it in New Jersey, taking a picture of the baby and saying how much she gave birth? It was wonderful to, kill the baby. I mean, what did you think of that? I've never seen anything that satanic.
That was on YouTube, and see what she did not do. She did not show her abortion. She showed a picture of her. She may not have really been having an abortion either. See, that could have been doctored. But she's showing, oh, this is pleasant, this is fine. Now I know I can at least get pregnant. They didn't show the baby being torn up, ripped up, torn apart, killed. They didn't admit that many times that once the babies are aborted, they ship the remains of the babies to be burned as energy, the energy plant. There's so much that's not being told to us, and it is satanic. There are many actresses, though, who have come forth and said that they really did regret their abortions. We have, was it Australia? Is an actress somewhere recently that committed suicide because she could not get over her abortion.
Oh, it's incredible. Dr. Elvita C. King is our guest. She's a pastoral associate of Priests for Life, director, African-American Outreach, priestforlife.org, an excellent site. She's got a new book coming out in just about 2-3 weeks, King's Rules, that I hope to read and maybe even carry on our online store and get her back on. In the 3 or 4 minutes we've got left with you, I know, at least from what I've read, that MLK, again, I'm not saying Republicans are great, but he was more Republican than Democrat from what I knew. He was pro-life from what I knew. But then when I watched CNN or MSNBC, they use his image to act like he would be for socialism and abortion. Being his niece, being very close in the family, can you say what you believe Martin Luther King would be saying today if MLK Jr. was alive?
Well, in my book, it's King Rules, K-I-N-G. There's 10 rules, R-U-L-E-S, 10 rules that will help you, your family, and our nation to prosper. And there's a whole chapter on life in that book. Father Frank Pavone wrote the afterward. Congressman J.P. Watts.
So it's about what he did. So it's about what would Martin Luther King say today?
Well, there's a whole chapter on if Uncle M.L. We call him M.L. Uncle M.L. could tweet. There's a whole chapter on tweets, 140 characters of things that he would say if he were here today. Absolutely. Now, he was not a Republican. He was not a Democrat. His dad was a Republican, and today I'm a Republican. But Martin Luther King Jr., in his own words, said, I don't need to join either party because I might need to speak to people in those parties. So he was more like a Billy Graham or different pastors and preachers. We don't know what their political persuasion is because when they go to their White House or when they counsel these leaders, they want to do it from a position of the Bible, which is higher than any political party. So Martin Luther King Jr., in his own words, was an independent.
Yes.
He wrote that himself. Yeah.
Well, listen, in the time we've got left, tell us about the new book, when it's coming out, and just your take on Obama I mean, I think of him as the opposite of Martin Luther King. The way MSNBC and Al Sharpton try to invoke racial division because they're busy stealing all of our futures. Obamacare, raising taxes on poor people. What's your take on Obama?
I just think it's amazing that people wanted to say that Obama was the realization of the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wanted a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ. President Obama has actually said that America is no longer a Christian nation. And I know that my uncle would be very upset to hear that. My uncle was a man of God, and he loved the Lord, and he was a preacher of the gospel.